Right now, the Western Cape Education Department has suspended its diversity intervention program at Fish Hoek High School. This follows complaints by parents who say the program presented by Asanda Ngoasheng fueled racial tensions and left some children traumatized. But what is diversity training and what does it really do? Can it work? Let's unpack this further. We're joined by Terry Oakley-Smith. She is the founder and CEO of Diversi-T. Thank you so much, Terry, for your time here. And I know that you're so passionate about this topic. And, you know, diversity training, I feel, is quite important, but it can also backfire, right?
You know, I think it really depends on how effectively it's done, Masejo. First of all, I think that if one's working in a school, and I've worked in a number of schools, it's very important that one isn't just dealing with learners straight off, but one needs the support of the school itself. In other words, one needs to do some initial work with the school governing body, with the parent body, with the teachers, before one begins to talk to learners. And it seems that this wasn't so much diversity training as a lecture to 800 people, 800 learners, which clearly can't be effective. Diversity training needs to be interactive. It needs to be very participative. It needs to be done in manageable size groups. And I mean, as a white person, would always make sure that I was working together with a black person, preferably a black male, so that we also can show and demonstrate how possible it is to have a positive relationship. So I think there were all sorts of things about this process that were questionable. I don't know what curriculum was being used either, or what methodology was being used. And all of these things are really important, Masejo, if one is going to make an impact effectively and lastingly.
And of course, you know, if not done properly, diversity training may be misunderstood, and then you're at the danger of it being used, for instance, as a catch-all solution, where, you know, then it becomes about venting instead of really trying to see your unconscious bias and teach you new values, right?
Yes, and I think that's absolutely correct. I'm not sure whether this was supposed to be anti-racism training or diversity training, because diversity training would also involve things like gender, LGBTIQ plus issues, age issues, etc. So I think it was probably more anti-racism. But obviously also what happens is that you run the risk of provoking white fragility. Unless it's done with quite a lot of sensitivity, white fragility can take over. Most of us as white people feel defensive when people speak to us about race. I mean, one hears things like, I don't see color. In fact, I saw that the school actually responded like that. I don't see color. So it's about creating an environment or a climate where people feel comfortable to talk to one another about what makes them different and also about what they have in common. I don't think it can ever really be a lecture, because one's unlikely to get the results, and one is likely to breed white fragility more effectively. And that's surely the worst thing that can happen in such kind of training.
And isn't the other danger the fact that some of these trainers use diversity training to sort of change behavior? Isn't that the wrong way to perceive it? Changing behavior?
Look, I think it starts even with, I mean, I think some people who are diversity trainers don't have adequate education around it. I mean, you need to have a background in psychology, in conflict management. You need to have effective facilitation skills. I mean, you can't just go in and lecture. That's not effective diversity training. And that is likely to exacerbate a situation that might already be quite volatile. So I think I don't understand what David Mania was thinking. I mean, I don't know why this particular approach of a huge group was taken on in the first place. And it would be interesting to know what was in the curriculum. It seems that it was very based in our historical past.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the best way to start when working in schools.
And this is also quite a bad look on the DA government, isn't it? Especially because of the kind of party that it's perceived to be, but also the fact that it governs over a province that is perceived to also have very huge racial inequalities.
Yes, and I would imagine in Fish Hoek itself, I mean, I haven't read anything from any black parents or black learners, and it would be very interesting to know what their views were on this. But I think, for the DA to summarily cancel all kind of diversity training on the basis of one bad experience, rather than going back and saying, look, what happened here? Let's have a look at how we did this. Possibly our approach wasn't right, but we certainly need it, because I would say that probably in the Western Cape, almost more than anywhere, there's a need for effective diversity training in schools.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. I really appreciate it, because my question was always, does it actually work? But I guess if you just use it properly, as you say, don't lecture, maybe then you'll be able to get a conversation going. Thank you very much, Terry Oakley-Smith. She is the founder and the CEO of Diversi-T.